So today I'm going to film during the day. It's weird because I thought that the lighting would be better, but actually it's worse. I hope you see me. I put as much light as I could. Okay, so today I want to talk about this book. I already talked about it before. I have bought it not a very long time ago, and I didn't have the time to read everything, and it's really a book for fans, I would say. I don't say that by a negative way. It means that I usually don't especially buy books for fans, but I was more interested in what was said about the way of working. That's why I bought it, and also I wanted to see the pictures, if there were nice photos as models to paint or things like that. The book is really well made. I recommend this book if you are a Chak fan. So I didn't have the time to read everything, but sometimes I read here and there, and I check the photos. And I was reading an interview with Ian Curnow. He was the Chak keyboard in 1984 until, sorry, it's written small, until 1986. So he stayed a long time with them, obviously. Maybe because he was doing keyboards and then they moved more towards the acoustic sound. Maybe that's why he couldn't continue. I think that I read something like that. This interview is page 61 if you are searching for it. And at the end of the interview, I read something. I will read it to you first. So the question was, how do you feel about Chak Chak all these years later? And he answered, I wouldn't have missed it for the world, and I can't help hearing any of the tracks without them affecting me greatly, both emotionally and spiritually. Sounds strange, doesn't it? The great shame to me is that Mark is such a huge talent, but deliberately tries to work against the industry rather than with it. So he's no longer in the business, and it's a loss to all of us. I don't think he ever fully realized his potential. That's the thing that bugs me most. When I read that, it's really at the end of the interview. The interview is really nice and interesting, and you arrive at the end and you read that. I had to read it several times, and I don't know why, because I perfectly understand what he's saying, but I think that it disturbed me somehow because I don't quite agree with everything said here. So the beginning is nice. He misses to work with them or to hear them. The great shame to me is that Mark is such a huge talent, but deliberately tries to work against the industry rather than with it. I don't agree with that, because when Mark Hollis started, he was not working against the industry. He was doing everything which was asked from him, and sometimes things that he didn't like to do. You are going to tell me who cares what he did and what I think. And of course it was many years ago, so who cares? It's past and we can change the history. And anyway, what I think, I suppose you really don't care. It's just that when you are an artist and you create, yes, you have to work with the industry you are in if you want to make a living from your art, I mean, and if you want to succeed somehow or even a little, you have to play the game. But I think there is a limit to what you are ready to do. So here, when the guy says that he has been deliberately, Mark Hollis, working against the industry, at the beginning, no. When you tour during almost 1 year and 6 nights on 7 every week, it's not what I call working against the industry. He did his best. He did the most which was asked from him, and at a point he was not ready maybe anymore to play that game, because he moved on. I mean, he had a family, the situation was not the same, and maybe he had personal reasons to change that. But I think it's a little harsh to say that, because I don't think that the aim of Mark Hollis was to work against the industry. I think that at the beginning he did everything he could, and at a point he decided to do only what he wanted to do. Sorry, I don't have a cold, it's just the allergies. At a point he decided that he would do only what he wanted to do, for whatever reason. I'm not here to say what reasons he had. He probably had a pretty good reason to act like that. Then the guy Ian Curnow says, so he's no longer in the business and it's a loss to all of us. So he's no longer in the business. Yes, actively he's no longer, but we still can buy his CDs and we still can listen to his music, and it's still, I think he's still selling music and people are still talking about him. I'm talking about him, but it's a loss. Yes, I agree with that. For the fans, for people who love Chak Chak and Mark Hollis, yes, it's really a loss, because we miss him, we miss his music, and we would have loved to hear more, of course. But we must also respect his choice. I mean, I think that he had a very good reason to do what he did. I mean, leaving the business, and he had a good reason then, and maybe he still has a good reason now, but maybe the reason now is not the same as it was then. So yes, it's a loss, but I think we can't blame Mark Hollis not to play the game, because he played the game. He did everything he could and even more, and at a point you can't lose your health, your mental and physical health, just to please the industry. I mean, artists are not puppets to feed what the industry wants. Mark Hollis was smart enough to stop before it could become a catastrophe. I mean, you see a lot of artists who commit suicide, or who take drugs, or who drink so heavily that they can't recover, or who do insane things. Maybe he stopped before becoming like that, and I think he was right. He was the father of 2 kids. He had a responsibility. He couldn't just dismiss this situation, I think. So what disturbs me is first that this guy doesn't understand how the situation was then. Second, I mean, for the success, for the money, for the glory, for doing that job, I think there is a limit to what an artist can endure. That's my opinion. Then he says, I don't think he ever fully realized his potential. So I don't agree at all. I think he totally realized his potential. It's because he realized his potential that he went further, he went differently. I mean, Chak Chak career was up and up and up. First album, success. I remember the first album. I didn't have a CD from them yet, and I still knew what they were doing. So obviously, and I was in France, I was even not in England or in the US, I was in France. So Chak Chak first album, success. Then It's My Life, bigger success. Then I started buying their CDs, and I started being really interested in them. So It's My Life, really great success. Then The Color of Spring, so they couldn't make bigger than that. I mean, when you arrive at The Color of Spring, it's the top. In 3 albums they arrive at the top. It's incredible. Then if he was not aware of his potential, he would have tried to do something exactly like The Color of Spring, to be sure to have success, because he would be like, wow, that was big, I must do something as huge. But he decided, no, okay, The Color of Spring was there, big success. Now I want to have a success with something completely different. He had the opportunity to do whatever he wanted with an unlimited budget. He did what he wanted. And it was not maybe a success then, but it's becoming a success now because he was so far ahead, you know. So he had a great confidence in his potential. On contrary, so he did Spirit of Eden. He did it. He made it because he had such a confidence in what he was doing, and he knew that it could be something wonderful, and it is. So I don't agree with that. However, the record company didn't have faith in his potential and didn't acknowledge the power of Spirit of Eden. They could have done the marketing for Spirit of Eden by a different way. I suppose they should have tried to find the angle to sell this album, even without tour, even without interviews. They should have tried to do something maybe with kind of a mystery about this album. I'm sure there was a way to sell it because it's a wonderful album. And Mark Hollis did the video, the clip video about I Believe in You, even though he didn't want to do it. So that is working with the industry. He said I did it because I had to be reasonable. And then he regretted to do it, and he regretted to have compromised. I think that he shouldn't regret it because the video is not tacky. He is not prostituting himself because of this video. We can see that it's sincere and deep, and we buy it. We buy it. It's okay. It's okay. But he did work with the industry. He made efforts, and then he didn't want to make efforts anymore, at least not the efforts that the music industry was expecting from him. But you know, why I'm talking about all this? Because it bothers me that artists, they are not trusted. I mean, in whatever field, they are not trusted. I remember I had clients in Paris, and they were like, oh, I love what you paint, oh, you are so talented. And then they were coming and, oh, I love this painting by Leonardo da Vinci, can you do a copy for me like that? And people, they understand what I was doing. First, I certainly don't have the talent to do a copy of Leonardo da Vinci. Secondly, I'm not sure it's allowed to do a copy of such a painting, of such paintings. Doing copies of famous paintings, it's kind of, isn't it illegal? Or it must really show that it's a copy, you know, so if it shows that it's a copy, it's not a right copy anymore. Thirdly, did you see what I'm painting? Did you see my style? Did you understand what I mean in a painting, what I want to convey in my painting? I mean, it's like this guy the other day here in the US who told me, oh, you could totally provide paintings for, you know, medical cabinets. They usually like paintings where there is a landscape and something like that, and you would make so much money. So once again, did you see my paintings? Do I make a lot of landscape? I made maybe 1 or 2 landscapes in my whole life. It's not my aim to provide landscapes for medical cabinets. I would like, if someone buys my painting or my paintings, it's because the person likes what I do, appreciates my art, and wants to buy my universe, my world, my way of translating what I see on a canvas, you know, not to have a copy of something or not to have a landscape because it's nice and it's not some home decor art, you know. I mean, fine art, it's not supposed to be used for, it's not supposed to be made just for the home decor purpose. So people who are saying things like that, they understood nothing. Same thing in music. I understand that you have to play the game with the music industry, but at a point when an artist is so famous that he sells so much, that he brings so much money to the record company, don't you think that he's allowed, this artist, at a point to do really what he wants to do and to say his own message, no matter what the audience is expecting and no matter what the record company is expecting? So it surprises me that a musician, a keyboard player, says things like that, because it means, okay, if the record company tells you to pull down your pants and show your butt to the whole world, you have to do it to actually play the game and to work with the music industry. Oh, they would like that. Every newspaper would talk about that, and it would be such an advertising for the music. But that is not the aim of music. The music is here to inspire people, to enchant people, to make them dream, to make them see things or feel good, not to shock people with weird news. I think this guy didn't understand why Mark Hollis was doing music. And when Mark Hollis made Spirit of Eden, obviously he really had a big faith in his skills and inspiration. So I absolutely don't agree with what is written here. It's absolutely the contrary of what I think. Okay, I wanted to say that. Okay, another thing that I wanted to read to you, because I'm still going to be upset. I prefer to tell you in advance. Before I start, it's an interview by Nigel Reeve, and he was or maybe he still is, the director of repertoire at EMI Records. What do you think Chak Chak will be remembered for most? By many for the creative picks of Spirit of Eden and Laughingstock. So you see, something that they didn't want, now it's maybe the peak of their career. Also the astonishing development made over the 4 albums. However, to the masses, they will probably be remembered as an 80s band. Unfortunately, yes, it's often the case when I talk with people. And for the radio-friendly singles, It's My Life and Life's What You Make It. That's true too. They almost have 2 careers and different repertoire for 2 very distinct audiences. So it's the last sentence which I don't agree totally. Yes, there are some people who have a rather good taste in music, I would say, and who appreciate Spirit of Eden, Laughingstock, and even the Mark Hollis solo album, which is even harder to understand for the mainstream, I would say, but for the usual audience. But some people really love these 3 albums, and I'm a part of it. And there are also the usual audience, the people who liked Chak Chak from the beginning and who are more for It's My Life or Life's What You Make It. And he says 2 audiences. I don't agree with that. There is 1 audience for the last albums. There is 1 audience for the beginning, the most famous albums. And there is a 3rd audience, and I'm a part of it, who love absolutely everything and see the thing like a whole. He says in the interview that it's like if they had 2 careers. No, it's still Chak Chak. From the very beginning it was Chak Chak, and it was Chak Chak and Mark Hollis until the end, you know. I don't see them like if they had 2 different careers. It's not because they made some stuff commercial at the beginning that they are by a way, and because it's less commercial at the end they are by another way. No, it's just the same band which evolved by a certain way, but it's the same person. Well, at the end obviously Paul Webb was not there, and even for the last album Lee Harris was not there. It was just Mark Hollis for the solo album. But I see completely a link between the beginning and the end. For me it's absolutely the same band. So you imagine someone like this guy who seems to be smart and very nice and who seems to work rather well with Mark Hollis, still doesn't understand totally the audience. There are some people like me who loves everything and who absolutely accept Spirit of Eden, Laughingstock and the Mark Hollis solo album, even though I'm a big fan of It's My Life and even of The Color of Spring. I absolutely love everything. I can say I love this album more than this one. I love them all. I'm able to appreciate everything from the beginning to the end. We are able to appreciate what is commercial, and we are able to appreciate what is more creative and maybe a little more intellectual. I don't like the word because it's not a matter of intellectual, which is different, something different. Stop thinking that we are two different people. No, we can be the same. I'm the same. I had to stop because my camera was full. I was saying that I'm totally able to love, for example, the last album by Daft Punk, who had a huge success, which is very commercial, and still love Spirit of Eden, Laughingstock, and the Mark Hollis solo album, because people are able to love different things, so the record companies start thinking a little differently. That's what I wanted to say. Yes, there is another guy, another interview, Farquhar, Modern Art Publishing Management. The one area of the media that we could work hard was print press features, and there was good interest due to the fantastic reviews. But even this proved to be tough as Mark Hollis' availability was limited. In desperation, my boss, Annie Newell, sent my colleague, Paul Bultitude, and me to take Mark out for lunch to try and get more out of him, to try and get him to trust us, and to give us more access and media time with him. Annie's reasoning was that Paul and I weren't corporate, and we got on really well with all our artists. We failed completely. Mark was sweet, but clearly not interested in our goal. I suggested that a coordinated media strategy might lead to some radio play, and he replied succinctly that radio play would be the last fucking thing I need. I tried to get the conversation back to our agenda. He looked at us and said, "It's funny, isn't it?" We paused and asked what was funny. He replied that dogs can't smile. At that, he called for the bill. I paid, and I never saw him again. I really liked him. So I want to say that first I had a dog who was smiling, so I think that some dogs smile. But that's not the subject. Actually, I think that Mark Hollis, by saying that it's funny that dogs don't smile, it has a further meaning. Did he mean that he doesn't want to be like a dog, never smile again, or being sad and doing the dog for the records company? We can understand it like that. So this interview was made for, yes, Bolender, so it means it was for Laughingstock. So he didn't want to have the radio talking about him, and I understand that it's not easy to work with an artist. Sorry, I'm cleaning my house in the same time. I understand it's not easy to work with an artist who doesn't want to play the game anymore, but they should have tried to do the marketing for that album differently, I think. I'm not a champion in marketing, so I'm not going to give lessons of marketing to professionals. But I'm absolutely certain that there is always a way to work the things out and to work with the situation. Obviously, Mark Hollis was going through something, and he had pretty good reason not to want to be in front of everybody and to be on stage and to be in the media and everything. So they should have rather tried to figure out how to make it work and to give him some space, because obviously he needed some space. But that's interesting. That's interesting. You know why I'm interested in that? It's not to talk about gossips. He said that. No, it's just because I'm very interested in creation and the way the mind works, and I'm always curious to know why I'm able to create at a certain point in my life and why I couldn't create during 9 years. So maybe Mark Hollis was going through something like I did, so they should have understood him rather than trying to make him do something that obviously he didn't want to do. That's my point. I wanted to talk about it because artists are not robots. They are human beings. They have a pulse, they have a heart, and they are allowed sometimes to have feelings and to not feel good to do certain things. Okay, I'm going to finish on a positive note. I wanted to show you, I'm trying to give more light, it's not obvious. I wanted to show you the James Marsh art. Look at these butterflies, beautiful. And so this is basically the cover of the book. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? Nice pictures, you know. Really nice photos. And look at that. I absolutely love this page. Do you manage to see? Yes. And this. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, I think you know this one. Butterfly with the tiger face. That's interesting. There is something very surrealistic in his design. And look at that. Yes, for me it's some surrealistic. A little Douanier Rousseau also. It's a mix of Salvatore Dali and Douanier Rousseau. And here the bird is beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. Yeah, I wanted to show you that to finish on a positive note. Oh, and look at that. And more here. A lot of birds, butterflies, so things which fly. And this is the... Yes, it is this one actually. Look at that. That is beautiful too. In a cage. If you look well, the cage, it has the shape of a face. It's interesting. There is a nose and you can see eyes. Oh, and look at that. That is very Douanier Rousseau. That makes me think a lot of Douanier Rousseau. Here. Of course, a lot of animals, because Chak Chak is all about animals. You know that. I wanted to finish with a positive note because I don't want to be the one who is ranting all the time. But things need to be said. I think the music industry sells stuff, but they don't understand the audience. as they should, I think. And the audience changes, you know, the audience is not the same in the 60s as it is now. We are not in the same period. We have access to a lot of more information, and we are, I think, more open to varieties, to changes. If you like this video, please give a thumb up, and please comment if you have something to tell me, and subscribe if you want to. See you very soon. Bye bye.